Welcome to the Underground.
Turn me up, bitch!
My Little Underground with Peter A.
It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A. Make sure you're subscribed anywhere you get podcasts. And be sure to follow me on social media at MLU Pod. And you can also support My Little Underground for as little as $1 a month. Link is in the description and also at peteraradio.com. Returning to the show today, we got Biasby. He's going to help me do a nice little Queens of the Stone Age retrospective. I thought since the band's second album, Rated R, turns 20 this year, why not bring in a fellow Queens of the Stone Age fan to go through some of their best albums? Or, hell, we go through all of their albums. That's right. And Biasby asked me the very difficult question. My favorite song from each of their albums. Lots to talk about. The good, the bad, the ugly, the sexy of Queens of the Stone Age right here on My Little Underground. All right, Mr. Maltzby, Biasby, whatever you want to call yourself these days. We're talking about one of our fondest bands, the Desert Kings or Queens. So I want to start things off with the self-titled album, 1998. Now, to me, you may feel differently, but I think this album is like the last of Caius because you still got Alfredo Hernandez on drums, and this whole thing was very riff heavy, almost like a continuation of the doom metal sound, if you will, like Sabbath and Sleep. But essentially, this is like Homme's solo project. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah. I'm not that well versed in Caius material, but at the same time, this album, compared to all the other ones, really stands out as like the black sheep of all of Queens of Stone Age material, really, because it's very, like you said, riff centric, and still they're totally just in that C standard tuning, that deep doom type desert rock, like that you were just talking about. Definitely, I actually had I right before we started, I pulled all of the vinyl off of my shelf just to have in hand, and this was the first one that I had, actually.
Yeah, you really think it's the black sheep of their discography?
I do compared to all the other ones, because it really is the heaviest out of all of them. Like it does. If I showed that to people, they would be like, "This is Queens of," compared to like, let's say Lullabies to Paralyze, right? They'd be like, "This is the same band." That's how I feel like people would respond to it.
Yeah. I will say, and we'll talk about this album later, but I'd say Era Vulgaris is their black sheep outside of Make It With You. Yeah, because it's their weirdest. And this is their heaviest. Like songs like Walking on the Sidewalks, it's just, I think Homme described it as robot rock. It's just this very just almost motoric riff just kind of repeating. Oh, that's like the remainder, 2.5 minutes of the song is just this deep, heavy riff that's just repeating itself over and over again. It's like hypnotizing. I think it's fucking gorgeous. It's one of my favorite songs in their whole discography.
Really?
But because I just like, because Queens of the Stone Age, like, they're a very riffy band, even though they've evolved and they have a lot more to their sound. But Homme is like the king. I can't say that, but like he's like a scientist when it comes to riffage,
Definitely. I was actually, when I was listening, in preparation for this podcast, I just went through all of their whole discography, except Like Clockwork and Villains recently.
Same. I did the whole thing this whole week.
And upon the re-entry to listening to this, to their self-titled, I found like the song You Can't Quit Me Baby is always going to be my favorite, one of my favorite tracks of Queens of Stone Age in general, definitely of that album.
Yeah, we talked about that.
But Walking on the Sidewalk, like this on this listen, was like the one that stood out to me. I was just like, damn, this shit is heavy. Like,
absolutely.
The drum beat is the one that at the end, the last 2 minutes, I'm like, ooh, let me learn that this week.
Yeah. I can say the same thing about If Only. And that song is very hypnotic and repetitive as well. I think that was an early Gamma Ray track too. Um, yeah, it's very just a repetitive riff, catchy hook. And it's almost like the foundation of what their sound um, became because, listening to their discography, it's like a story almost because they start here and the story of their history as a band, it's like it's not really a band almost because it's just a revolving door of musicians.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the desert sessions on an actual album that end up becoming a worldwide touring act.
Right.
They have different people for different albums, and more people join the family. There's the core of what Queens of the Stone Age is always been changing. The only like central thing has been Josh Homme. Yeah. So moving on to Rated R, which is like probably the inspiration for doing the show because it turned 20. Yeah. And I got the bright, beautiful blue sweater in my closet, so I think it's apropos to do it. And just looking back on it, it's just I think this is the album. You could probably say different, or maybe you'll agree. This is one of the starting points as to what became Queens of the Stone Age. Like, if I were to tell people what albums from this band to listen to, Rated R will be one of those albums to start with. Yeah, because it really is. It really started to define the band, and it's their first major label album. And
Interscope.
So, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I was on last on the show, like we were talking about. This is what led to it, right? And I think we both agreed that this was the starting point. Because as much as of a perfect album, Songs for the Deaf is like you wanna warm someone up to that album, and the precursor to it is the perfect way to do it. We got Feel Good Hit of the Summer to start off the album. That's one of the best openers of an album, period. You know that leads directly into Lost Art of Keeping the Secret. Like every single one of the songs hit. There's none. There's like the only one that doesn't hit as strong for me is Monsters in the Parasol. But
I love that
it's
song.
so weird, and it's
I
like
love
in
it.
the perfect.
It
It's in the
is.
perfect spot, like right before Quick and to the Pointless too. It's just like looking at the album right now in my hand. To close off side one, dude. Like really, you really can't get any. This is like I do agree, 100%. This is the first thing that you should always recommend to someone when they are interested in the Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah, and again, it's continuing the story of Queens of Stone Age, the revolving door of musicians. And this is when Nick Oliveri became an official member. He joined the group in the first band. I think he was in Caius too. But yeah, again, this album also was just the starting point of what became Queens of the Stone Age, especially like their mainstream notoriety. Because this is the year. There's been plenty of Dave Grohl interviews from this time period where Dave is talking about Queens of the Stone Age. Everybody asks him, "What are you listening to now? What are you listening to now?" He'll say Queens of the Stone Age, and even back into his Nirvana days, when somebody asked him, "What's the future of grunge?" and then Dave Grohl was like, "Well, the future of grunge is Caius," because that relationship is goes back years, and I think it's cool that Dave does that. He talks about the bands that he likes, and it's usually bands that are like that are not as famous as him, which is fucking incredible. And especially on this album, Homme's very democratic, and he lets others sing the lead on the song because we have Mark Lanigan on Into the Fade, Nick Oliveri, Autopilot, Quick and to the Pointless, and Tension Head. What do you think of that? How do you think Josh Homme used, or traded or shared the lead vocal spot?
When you're putting together a project, it's at the end of the day, it's not you. You have that vision for yourself, but if something does it better, it's up to you to those sacrifices to make the song better should always come before anything else, before your ego. So it's really like it goes to show that he doesn't have that big of an ego to let other people sing leads because he's the front man of the band. The Queens of Stone Age is his mind child, and the fact I give him credit to it, man. I give all the credit in the world because that's something that I've thought about as well when I was first listening to Queens of the Stone Age. When I first got into it and had was listening through all of their albums, I'm like, he's not singing on all of them. He's getting other people that are not even part of the band. It's just like people that he grabs, like his friends, and that's dope as hell.
Yeah, and it's exactly what the Desert Session
Right.
and the Desert Sessions was before Queens of the Stone Age, so he's just continuing that trend. And I remember him doing interviews surrounding like Clockwork, and like Clockwork is the same thing as a lot of people that he has on it. And he said it wouldn't be like hip hop, like it would be Josh Homme featuring so and so, Queens of the Stone Age featuring so and so. The featured guests would just be interwoven in the fabric of the
Right.
band of that particular album. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%. It's inspirational, to be very honest.
Yeah, it is. And he continues this trend on songs for the deaf. And here's the thing: I remember when I first heard "Millionaire" on the Tony Hawk's Underground soundtrack. It didn't really like sink in my head. Okay, this is Queens of the Stone Age, because years later I heard Threes and Sevens on Guitar Hero 3, and I'm thinking, oh, this is the same band, but different people are singing. Because you have Nick Oliveri singing "Millionaire," and it's almost like when you're first getting into them, it's like, okay, who is really the lead singer of this band and who is singing right now? It can be kind of confusing. But then if you keep listening years later, you try to understand the band more and understand Josh Homme. He's a very democratic and he's very inspired by his peers.
Like, I think if we're gonna talk about this album, "Songs for the Deaf," I this is the album where I fell in love with them, and I think that would be everyone. And the first song I ever heard of Queens of the Stone Age was and saw the video was "No One Knows," and I think that's obviously their their most well known song. So that's always been the like forefront, the ingrained image that I had of them. And when I first listened through whole album, it was, I don't know, man. I really have no words to say for this album because it's such a strong influence to me. Like continue with more thought.
Yeah,
I get emotional. I get emotional talking about this album.
This is like the centerpiece of this group. This is like the magnet of Queens of the Stone Age.
The fact that they had Dave Grohl, he got Dave Grohl on this album, man, and
that's just his buddy. It's not like, oh, I got Dave Grohl, I got this big feature. No, they're friends.
Exactly, man. And I was recently, I forgot who I was talking to, or I saw a oh no, I was watching that Tame Impala. Kevin Parker was talking about his favorite drum beats, on I forgot, I think Pitchfork or something like that. It was a video on YouTube, and one of the tracks that he chose was a "Go with the Flow," and he talked about how Dave Grohl makes motifs during the verse, and how other people would just play through it, and more I'm not one of those people that watch interviews or whatnot, but Kevin mentioned that how Dave Grohl is like a metronome. Like when they were looking through the tracks for the whole album, like he was on point on all of them. And it's like Dave Grohl has always, I don't like the Foo Fighters like that, but Dave Grohl in general, his musicianship, his musicality is always something that I've strived for.
Yeah, and I think his drumming on this is just superb. I like, if you listen to a song for the dead, that intro pattern,
dude,
you just kind of want to you just kind of want to fall apart into pieces. Like, what are you doing
While I'm
here? You
driving,
know?
man. While I'm driving, I'm
Yeah.
doing the fills.
Yeah, exactly. And even like "Gonna Leave You," it's so
Yeah.
simple. Like, it's very, but it's like the heartbeat and the pulse of the
Mm-hmm.
song. I don't know, and I love how the drums sound on this too. They sound so crisp and
Mm-hmm.
crunchy, and I love it. It sounds like the
Yeah.
desert.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. And what do you think of the concept, the loose concept of this album? Josh Homme driving through LA to Joshua Tree, changing the radio stations along the way, and you hear these kind of radio DJ interludes. What do you think of all that?
It's like it was really the perfect setup throughout as a concept throughout the album because it's not just this is like when compared to Rated R like and the self-titled, those are just straight rock and roll. There's not much variety. I mean, besides Monsters in a Parasol, but that's still like there. I mean, Autopilot is probably a better example of difference, but that was just one song. On here, there's a lot of variety, and this is the first album I think where it was what was it? Hanging Tree. Hanging Tree was in 5 in 5/4, and there's not much time change, time signature fooling around in the other two, and like every it's not all rock and roll. Like it's a lot of different. It pleases the palate. There are different like flavors when it comes to each song. Like I'm looking at like what I have like I mentioned, I have all these vinyl, and I'm holding this one in my hand. Side A is completely different than side B, which is completely different from side C and side D. Like they all have different moods to them.
Yeah. I think there's a central mood, but there's many different colors
Yeah.
to that mood. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because as I'm listening to this album, I love how it starts. You hear Josh Homme getting to his car, he's starting the
Hmm.
engine, and then you slowly hear a DJ introducing Millionaire, and then boom, here we go. And yeah, like Hanging Tree specific, like I love the different guest vocals. Like Mark Lanigan is just, man, his voice is, I love his
Yep.
voice, and he just fits in like a glove with this group.
Hmm.
And their relationship with the Screaming Trees, Hami played guitar with them for a little while, and man, it's just the great chemistry, and Dave on the drums. It's almost like Queen of the Stone Age is a super group, and it doesn't intend to be. It's not marketed that way. It's just
Right.
we're guys that love music,
Right.
and that's it.
Right. I never thought of it like that.
And what was I gonna say? Yeah, I mean, with this album, there's a lot going on, and the concept is very entertaining, and it keeps you engaged. It makes you want to listen to the whole thing more than
My
once.
favorite part when they're listening to the stations is when they get to the end right after another love song. I don't know who they feature as a DJ at that point, but the woman, um, the Russian woman, is it's the funniest part. Like um, in a few my pets, I let you crawl back in. That's like it's so kinky. Like, and that's also another
That's the
another
man.
another theme of like what he's always going for, which is it's 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 awesome, funny, and cool at the same time. That's what embodies Queens of the Stone Age in general.
Yeah, and this album was just the apex of their mainstream
Right.
notoriety. They were on MTV. You got Dave Grohl on drums, but then after, with Lullabies to Paralyze, 2005, the revolving door of the group kind of changes, and with that, their kind of mainstream attention kind of dwindles a little bit, but their musicality stays just as sharp.
Hmm.
And they still got on late night TV and stuff like that. Dave Grohl went back playing with Foo Fighters full time. They even put out an album in your honor this year in '05. Nick Oliveri fired as the
Hmm.
bassist, but then here comes Troy Van Leeuwen from A Perfect Circle on lap steel and guitar, and we have Joey Castillo on the drums. And speaking of the revolving door, we got Shirley Manson, his girlfriend, future wife Brody Dale, and Jack Black adding their voices, doing some hand claps,
I did
etc.
not know that Jack Black
And
was on this.
yeah, he did some hand claps, I think. Yeah, and
They got Joey.
this album is very creepy. I love it. You have the Blood Is Love, Someone's in the Wolf, very Halloween esque. What do you think about this album overall? Like, where does this sit with you?
I as much hmm. I was last time we were talking. I said Era Vulgaris was one of my favorites, and I kind of take that back a little bit because it is a really different. Upon re-listening to Lullaby, there are just so many bangers on this, but um, everything eh, everything after no, not everything, like someone's in the Wolf, the Blood Is Love, those were a little to me, but those that's it. um every single every single track after that I was just screaming while I was driving, man. And my favorite song by Queens of the Stone Age is In My Head, and it always has been. So like
It's one of those things that gets in your head,
yeah,
literally.
like, literally. And Long Slow Goodbye is one of the songs that is constantly in. It was constantly. I should bring it back for solo sets or whenever I was playing acoustic guitar at open mics, and it was in some Medicine Fish jams.
Yeah, I
Long
remember.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's I don't know if you heard Like Cologne. It was like a Spotify exclusive acoustic Queens of the Stone Age thing.
No, never,
Um,
never
it's very good, and there's a very good version of Long Slow Goodbye on there.
really.
It's incredible. Yeah, but this is a sleeper album in their
It really
discography, I
is.
think. Because when you think of songs like "You Got a Killer Scene There, Man," you're talking about
Ooh,
variety. This song is so spooky and groovy and sultry, and I don't give a fuck.
yeah.
You can just tell Homies is sticking the middle finger at somebody somewhere.
That's
And
leather jacket, cigarette in your mouth, and shades on at the middle of a night type fucking song right there.
yeah, and it's like when I think of this band, like they're signed to a major label and they make catchy, pretty songs. But when you really listen to their songs, it's almost like there's some garage punk band because they really don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And the song is gorgeous as well. He's not shouting or anything like that. He's very just understated. And it sounds like, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and it's pitch black outside. He's really tired. He just wants to get it over with. Man, this song, it's so beautiful. I think his wife does, Brody Dale does backing vocals on it. It sounds beautiful. I love it. This is definitely a sleeper album, I think. So before we get to Era Vulgaris, I want to talk about some of their B-sides because I think this group has.
Oh yeah,
Oh man, that's a whole nother show.
yeah.
Songs like just some that stuck out to me, like "Ode to
Mm-hmm.
Clarissa," "Born to
Mm-hmm.
Hula," "Infinity." I don't know if you heard
I have heard
"Infinity."
Infinity. It's not one of those that has I've come across it often, but I have heard it. Like it's on when they re-released it last year. It's on the Lullabies to Paralyze one. This album. Like,
Yeah,
I'm holding it right now. Um,
yeah,
I I don't know which one I like though. When you talk about Born to Hula, like the old version or the new version, like it's another. Those were another. They don't hit the rotation whenever I was listening to Queens of the Stone Age like that often, and it was really cool to hear back those things. It's like I never listened to them because it's just so rare when I come across them.
yeah. Born to Hula. I have. I love both versions. The old Gamma Ray version and the 2000 version on the. It was on Rated R. It was a B side on Rated R,
Really?
and they put it on the re-release. And it's like their old sound. It's the riff, the repetitive, heavy riffs, and I love it. It's a beautiful song.
Right.
And Infinity, both versions on the heavy metal 2000 soundtrack and the Lullabies to Paralyze B-side version, both are great and different in their own way. Very beautiful songs too. Like they almost sound like they could have been like lead singles on anybody's album.
Yeah.
You know.
Hmm.
What about the fun? The fun machine took a shit and died.
That's my
What do you think about
that's my
that
second
one?
favorite of the B side. That's my second.
Love it.
My first favorite is "Like a Drug," which is something I'm working on to cover right now. But like, I have always like ever since the first time I heard it, it's just like one of those sultry songs, um, and it's about like heartache, and everyone can relate to that. But it's so cool. Like the sound, like what he like what everything that Josh Homme does. It's like cigarette in mouth type music, like you're smoking on the sidewalk, waiting for something.
Yeah, he's got a lot of vocal
Uh,
charisma, and he has a just a sharp ear for what a great song sounds like. Because, like we talked, like you said, he has a wide array of influences. He listens to a lot of different stuff. I don't know if you ever heard his Alligator Hour show. So many different things he's playing, and everything from Chelsea Wolfe to Patti Smith. He's all over the place, and that's a good thing. You have to have a wide array. I think it's healthy if you're a music fan. You listen to a wider array of
yep,
things.
you have to, because like you never know
Hmm.
where you're gonna get influence from.
Yeah. So, moving on to Era Vulgaris, 2007. This is their last album with
Right.
Interscope, and in my opinion, I think it's their least commercial friendly sounding album. It just sounds like we're trying to get the fuck off this label. We're gonna make the weirdest fucking album ever, and there's a lot of good weird on here, like I'm Designer, Misfit Love, Battery Acid.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love the just the change in direction. Do I love the whole album front to back? No, but there's a lot of there's a lot of bright spot. I listened to it today again, and it's probably my fifth or sixth time listening to it. And the stuff that I love, I love so much, and the stuff that I don't love is just it's kind of just middle of the road because Queens of the Stone Age they evolve and they change and they do things that kind of stick out. But this one was just like some of the songs were just kind of there. What do you think?
Which one specifically?
Like basically the second half of the album is very just kind of stuff like Run Pig Run and joints like that. They just kind of just fall flat a little bit. I don't
Run
know.
Pig Run is a really weird um way to end the album. And I definitely feel you. Run Pig Run is probably my least favorite Queens of Stone Age song, period. But Future Up Your Future is the track that I used to get high to. Like the first thing that I put on as a spark is Future Up Your Future. Um and Make It With You is on that second half of this album too, and that's a song about fucking. Like you, it's
Yeah.
great.
Hey, remember on Over the Years and Through the Woods, he's like, this next song, it's
The song
about
about fucking.
fucking.
Yeah, love it. I was listening to that earlier today too.
Yeah,
Great.
really good stuff. I love Turn It On the Screw. That's probably one of my favorite
It's a great way to
songs
start an
in their
album.
discography. Oh, it's beautiful.
And
It's
leading
fantastic.
right into Sick Sick Sick.
Yeah, that's a good one
Into
too.
the Hollow is probably is in one of those mess songs I can say.
Yeah, it is. It is very meh.
It's right in
Yeah.
the middle of I'm a Designer and Misfit Love. And Misfit Love is a sleeper track on this album.
Oh, Misfit Love is great. Um, so let's talk about some of their sister projects.
Oh,
Starting with
ooh,
Eagles of Death Metal, which he does with his best friend Jesse
right.
Hughes, who is more famous now for his right wing opinions. Let's just say that.
Hmm.
So, what do you think of Eagles of Death Metal? Have you listened to them a
I
lot?
have not listened to them as much as others. Like I probably listen to I'd rather listen to the whole discography of the Desert Sessions probably twice or three times before I listen to the discography of Eagles of Death Metal once. Like there are some
Agreed.
I've listened to the whole like their first three albums, I think. I can't even tell you. I mean, I know Peace, Love, and Metal is the first one where they did
Yeah.
Stuck in the Metal, and that's the one that really stood out when I
Yeah.
was listening.
That's right. I remember that one. Yeah. It's on like that. This band, it shows up. They show up a lot on like video game soundtracks. They licensed the
Really?
hell out of this album. It sounds like. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And they have there's a funny. I think it's still on YouTube. There's like a making of documentary on some Eagles death metal albums that's kind of funny. Like it just shows you how much of a character, how entertaining Josh Homme is. No, he doesn't get enough credit for being an entertaining guy. I
Baby
mean, he was
Duck.
on Portlandia. Yeah, Baby Duck, exactly. Yeah. Um, yes, he's a very entertaining guy. But like the Eagles death metal albums, they're like fun, they're funny, they're tongue in cheek,
Hmm.
they're
Hmm.
entertaining, but the flavor doesn't last very long. After a while, it's like, okay, I want to listen to something else. Like it's fun for a little while, but then it's like, okay, I get it. You're sexy rock and rollers, and you like sex, and great, but and it's
What more?
funny, but it's like
Yeah.
I'm over this.
Right. I saw them open
Yeah.
up for Mastodon in the Hammerstein Ballroom. That's
When?
oh god, that was like 2016 or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's when like their last album came out around the same. Well, Zipper Down came out in 2015, so yeah.
Zipper
Okay, cool.
Down. That's what it
Mhm.
was. Yeah, I knew that.
That was their last
I did
album.
not know the name of the last album. How many albums do they have? 4?
It's like 4,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I didn't listen to Zipper Down, but
It wasn't very
I
good. It
I
wasn't.
can definitely like say out of those 3 albums that I know, I think like 5 songs are like I fucks with, you know. The
Yeah,
one the baby duck song is adorable though. You'll be a baby duck.
there's some good songs on Death by Sexy, you know. But other
Yep.
than that, there's not much replay value on these projects. So
Cherry Cola on that one.
Cherry Cola, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's yeah.
And
And well, they have a lot of funny album titles like Heart On,
yeah,
you know. You know.
with the heart in the hand and plugged in and a 1/4 inch plugged into it.
Ha!
I think that's the album that has Came to Make a Bang, which is great. Oh, if it's not if came to if I Came to Make a Bang isn't on that album, then whatever album that's probably their best song. Came to Make a Bang.
Yeah. So them Crooked Vultures. What do you think about Dave Grohl, John Paul
God,
Jones, Josh Homme teaming up?
Alan Johannes too. Don't forget about that boy. That dude.
That's
That's a
right.
bad
That's right.
man,
That's a bad motherfucker, boy.
dude.
Let me tell you.
Oh my god, like them Crooked Vultures. To me, in my honest, humble opinion, that album is probably the best album by a band that only has one album. Period. Ever. And that like it's just it's
Yeah,
up there with like if we're gonna talk about Josh Homme's catalog of music and what he's in altogether, like Songs of the Deaf is at number 1, them Crooked Vultures is number 2 for me.
dude. Yeah, you know what? You're not lying. When you think about a lot of one-off projects like Mad Villainy,
Mhm,
Danger
mhm.
Doom, I think them Crooked Vultures is cut from that cloth.
Yes,
It's a one-off, but my goodness, what they did together, like it just shows you Josh Homme and Dave Grohl, they have like amazing chemistry. Dave
magic.
is on
It's
drums.
magic.
Oh
It's
my
magic.
goodness. And John Paul Jones is just another
I
John Paul Jones, Led Zeppelin,
that
man. Come on.
a legend. Like I've seen I could have seen them live. I don't know why I said no, but probably because I didn't have any money, but
Of
that is one
course.
of the regrets, the very few regrets I have in my life, not saying yes to see them Crooked Vultures. I think it was at the Gramercy. Or no, I think it was at Terminal 5. I don't know where it was. It was in the city. I didn't go. I hate myself for it. That's okay though. I have YouTube to watch, and watching YouTube, watching them play, like looking as a bassist, watching John Paul Jones and his just plethora of toys to play with. Like he has what is it, a 16 string MIDI lap steel bass with a chaos pad on it. What the like what? that was the that was the first thing I noticed when I think it was Austin City Limits that I watched once,
Yeah, yeah, I saw a little
and
bit
I
of that.
saw that, I saw him bring that out for No One Loves Me, Neither Do I.
Yeah,
Dude, I lost my shit. I had to pause it, and I'm like, what the fuck are you playing, dude?
yeah. I really like Mind Eraser. Mind Eraser, No Chaser. Such a beautiful song.
Scumbag Blues is probably
That's a
my
good one.
favorite
Yeah,
album.
Elephants.
and
Elephants really
and
good.
Bandoliers. Don't be surprised. Don't be
Bandoliers.
surprised if Madison Fish ever covers Bandoliers one day,
Oh
or
yeah.
or
All
or
right.
Biasby. I'm gonna cover one of these songs one day. In fact, like, I might want, like, for a Halloween, like Fish does, every Halloween they do some theme, and sometimes they played a full album. Don't be surprised if I play this full album one day from front to back.
All right. All right. I'm looking forward to it. So, jumping ahead a few years, a lot of years,
Oh,
2013. That's the next time we hear from Queens of the Stone
that
Age.
was
Like Clockwork.
that was a wait.
And this, yeah, it was a wait. And he did a lot in that wait. Them Crooked
Mhm.
Vultures. Come on. So,
Almost died
Hami
too.
was kind of, yeah, overcoming depression after complications from a knee
Mhm.
surgery, hospitalized for almost 2 weeks. And what an album to write coming off of like a horrible experience. And this is the album where we see an expansion of the core Queens of the Stone Age family. We have Dean Fertitta, a great guitar player from Dead Weather and the
Jack of
Raconteurs.
all
We also
trades.
have Michael Schumann.
Jack
Yeah,
of all trades.
we got Michael Schumann on bass, and this is an album where like Queens of the Stone Age is a full band now, and you still have the revolving door. You still have Elton John. Dave Grohl returns to play some drums. You have Alex Turner from Arctic Monkeys doing some backing
Mhm.
vocals. There's it's still like a family, but now we have a full band because again, Hami likes to tour, so I need people to tour with. So here you go, and all these guys are very talented too. So he picked the right group of people.
And you got
So
John
what?
Theodore too, man.
Yes, on drums from Mars Volta. That's
Jesus
right.
Christ, how could you?
What a
How
team.
could you? Like, I remember seeing a quote of he said while touring, I think for like Clockwork, like, um what he wants to do is surround himself with musicians better than him, and like he got John Theodore probably was the best find that he could have gotten. Like, Dean Ferrata is a great man, but
Yeah.
John Theodore is, I hold them more, like, those first two albums, Deloused and Francis the Mute. John Theodore, hearing what he does on those albums is just mind blowing. Someone that plays the drums, uh, continue.
What do you think about Like Clockwork overall?
I loved it. It was a great. The wait was long. It wasn't as long for me as it was for others, because I got into Queens of the Stone Age like heavy around 2000, like at the end of high school, beginning of college, like 2008, 2009, 2010. And I was waiting for them to come back with another album, but the wait was for this album. The wait was it wasn't like Chinese Democracy. like this album
That's
was
good.
worth the wait. It was
I
good. Like,
see.
one of the questions that I really wanted to ask you is to pick a song, your favorite song from each of the albums. But I want to do
I
I
could do
want to
that.
do that
I could do that.
after Villains.
Okay, we could do that to villains. But I guess I can give one of them away for Like Clockwork, and it's probably Colopsia.
Oh man, dude. It's for me. It's Collapsia, and I Appear Missing. Like, they go,
I appear
they
missing, dude.
really could, like, go either way depending on the day. And Sat by the Ocean is another, like.
That's another
There's
one.
another one.
Fair Weather Friends. Fair Weather Friends with Elton
I was about
John.
to say, yo, bro, and
Dude,
he got Nick Oliveri back on that one, right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
So this album was just like this band continuing their evolution.
right,
You
but
know,
keeping the same concept of rotating. It's legends. Like he got fucking Elton John on this.
yeah, he got Elton John. Just like at it here. Oh yeah, here's Elton John, and then Dave Grohl's
Right.
back playing some drums, and it was a beautiful album, and it fucks up the idea of what not only Queens of the Stone Age is, but like what a rock and roll album is supposed to sound
Mm-hmm.
like, especially in
Yeah.
2013. You know, I think this was their first number one album, if I remember that correctly, and I went to go see them on this tour at the Barclays Center. It was snowing like shit, and the weather was horrible. But I made the trip and to the Barclays Center, my first time there, and what a show that
I
was!
missed that one.
Ooh,
I missed that one because
dude,
I had a concert that night. I think I remember it was December 15th, 2000 13, 2014, whatever one it was. It was around that
yes, 2013, yeah,
one of those dates, like 2000 December 15th, December 13th. I had a choir concert, and I was on the verge of just saying fuck it and taking that L for that show, man. But I'm as a good student and someone that plays music, I just couldn't, and it kind of hurt. It kind of really hurt to miss that tour. But I caught them on their re-release, their first their self-titled re-release tour.
yeah. Terminal 5, right?
Yes.
I found I think you might have sent me a bootleg of that concert, or I might have told you about it. I forgot, but yeah, it sounded pretty good. I might go scourging for it though. But moving on to Villains. I thought this album was very evil and upbeat and very danceable.
Right.
What are your thoughts on Mark Ronson producing this?
It had a lot of signature Mark Ronson stuff, and it had like really dancey feel, dancey vibes to it, especially of course with Feet Don't Fail Me Now as your opener, and the way
Yeah.
you used to do, like you can't not dance to that. Um Head Like a Haunted House is a sleeper for me on this one. And The Evil Has Landed. Some people
Ooh.
that goes right back to like the heavy riffage
Yeah.
of early Queens of the Stone Age days. And someone when they first released this album compared it to Led Zeppelin.
Hmm.
That song specifically, it was Led Zeppelin esque. And
Maybe like physical. There's some physical graffiti-isms on Villains. I will
no, I
say.
mean I was talking about The Evil Has Landed in general. That one song.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Exactly.
Other than that, like I think Villains is was a it's a good album. I'll say that.
It is.
It's it's not as weird as Era Vulgaris, but it has a lot of energy, and it was different at the end of the day. Just straight up different.
And it didn't overstay its
No.
welcome. And again, Josh Homme is a guy that likes to do different.
Yes.
He doesn't want to have any
Yeah.
sequels. And when Lullabies to Paralyze was coming out, he was taught people want songs that are deaf too. Like that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You got to if you're not evolving, you're dying.
That's
But
that's like the another quote that I saw of his when I finally heard word of Villains and he was talking about it. I forgot where it was, but like it's the quote stuck to me, like the more you play, the older you get, bands could become a caricature of themselves, and he never wants to do that because you just be
nope.
playing the same shit, and that's boring, you know.
It is, especially if you have to tour all over the globe
Mm-hmm.
for like a year and a half, year and change. You want some variety.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and I love and look, they took 4 years between albums, so that's a lot of time to kind of think about how you want to approach the next
Mm-hmm.
thing. And yeah, look, and we're almost 4 years away from this album, So if Queens comes back, man, I can't wait to see what other new tricks that Homie's going to pull out of his ass. But around this album cycle, there was some controversy surrounding Mr. Homie.
Yeah.
Yeah, December 2017, Homie kicked photographer Chelsea Lauren in her face during a K Rock almost Christmas concert in LA. And that sucks. That's her hometown. And she suffered a sore neck, a bruise on the eyebrow, and some nausea. Luckily, she wasn't severely hurt. But you know, hey, when I first heard this, I'm thinking this is just fucked up. And I wasn't even thinking about, okay, I like Queens of the Stone Age. I'm thinking this is a terrible thing that somebody did to a person,
Right.
especially like a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard a lot of people were like kind of defending Hami. Not a lot of people. I heard somebody. I went to a record store and I met somebody there who was a big Queens fan, and I was talking to him like, "What do you think about this situation that happened?" They were like, "Well, that's rock and roll." I'm like, That's not rock and roll. Women getting kicked in the face by the lead singer, it's not rock and roll. It's just stupidity.
Right.
And there was a lot of Queens of the Stone Age fans that came to the defense of Chelsea, which I think is awesome. And even Chuck D chimed in, just asking if she was okay. And I think that's really cool. And Hami apologized, and hopefully, he definitely sees the error of his ways because we all saw it and it was on video. So let's hope that he's not kicking nobody. You know what I mean?
I
And
still haven't seen it, and
you haven't seen the clip?
I
Okay.
haven't seen it, but like I remember. I might have seen it. I just don't remember. But still, at the end of the day, like you can say that in the heat of the moment, like adrenaline. I remember seeing that his apology post on Instagram or something like that. Heat of the moment stuff, but there is really no excuse for doing that in general. From one human to another human, like you're as a freelancer at a show that you're playing at, like there's really no excuse, and it was really fucked up. I've heard, like I said, I mean, I as well hope that he's learned a harsh lesson from that.
Yeah, and it's not like he's like a 20-year-old kid at a punk
He's
show.
like 40.
Like,
He's 50.
yeah, he's in his 40s and he has kids and he has girls too. And he's married to Brody Dale. And Brody Dale is, a feminist punk,
She probably fucked him up
veteran.
when he got home.
I'm sure. I'm sure there was some healthy, tongue lashings going down there. But I'm not going to cancel Josh over this. I think we should hold him accountable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, and we can.
It's not like he's Chris
Yeah.
Brown.
No. Yeah. Yeah. He did something stupid, but really stupid. But like, let's hold him accountable and make sure he doesn't do this shit again. Or else someone's gonna kick you in the face. And you're 6 feet tall and you can kick a lot of people's asses, but you don't want to get kicked in the face. You know what I mean? So yeah. So okay, you were saying you want to know my favorite songs of each of their discography
album.
Each album. Okay. All right. Album 1, Walking on the Sidewalks. Rated R, I Think I Lost My Headache.
Okay.
And Songs for the Deaf. Oh, a Song for the Dead. Lullabies to Paralyze. Ooh, god damn
That's
it.
a hard one because all of them are bangers, right?
Yeah, I listen to The Blood is Love a lot. And it's kind of a tie between The Blood is Love and You Got a Killer Scene There, Man. Lullabies to Paralyze is got to be Turning on the Screw. Like Clockwork, Calypsia, right. Villains, The Evil Has Landed. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Cool.
What about you?
Self-titled would be You Can't Quit Me, Baby. Rated R is a hard one for me. I think Rated R would be. Let me look at this. I think Better Living Through Chemistry would be it for me. For songs for the deaf, I hate to be a commoner, but No One Knows.
Nothing wrong with that.
Lullabies in My Head, Era Vulgaris. I think Future Up Your Future or Misfit Love. It's hard. It let's go with Misfit Love. Um for Like Clockwork, I'm gonna say I Appear Missing more often than Collapsia. Collapsia is a really beautiful song coming out of nowhere after My God Is the Sun. I remember when they first dropped that.
Oh, I lost my shit.
Dude, I was like, you what? New music from Queens? What? Oh, and
And the drums on that too.
oh yeah.
Like and then there's like the drums like oh
Powerful
man.
driving,
Yeah.
very evil like you can think just very tribal-esque because if you're thinking saying your god is a sun, like a lot of people were sacrificed for the sun god in many different tribes, and that's the first thing that comes to mind whenever I think of that song. And villains I think would be Love Me Like the Way You Used to Do.
Yeah. And I would also say domesticated animals. That's another good one.
Oh, that one's a little, though the intro, the beginning of it is a little weird to me, but
It's very almost like a
right.
waltz.
I can never get never. It was hard for me at first to find the one. As a musician, I always try and find the one because, as Funkadelic says, everything is on the one.
Mm.
But yeah, yeah. It's hard for me to talk about villains because it's my least listened to album out of Queens of the Stone Age.
Yeah, it's the newest one. You know, a lot of their albums they require a lot of a lot of listens to really kind of see it in its full. You know what I mean? Trying to see what he's trying to do. At least from a fan's perspective, not like a casual listener. But I haven't given it a lot of listens. But I will listen to it more, and the more I listen to it, especially when it came out, I'm like, okay, the more I like it.
Uh, I I think all of the albums by Queens of the Stone Age, like wine, just like them themselves, their
That's it.
albums they age like fine wine, man.
Drinking wine and screwing, right? Like you said. There was a callback, like walking on the sidewalk,
Hell
he's
yeah,
dreaming, it's like drinking wine and screw, and then I think way later on Fair Weather Friends, he's like drink wine and screw. That's all you do every day.
yeah, man.
Good stuff.
This was fun. I'm glad we did this
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
on
Um,
Halloween Eve.
on Halloween Eve, and I wanted to do something for the 20th of Rated R, but I might as well just talk about the whole fucking discography because
Mm,
it's all great.
yeah,
Even the stuff I don't really like, it's still pretty good.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when you have a good band. What happens when you have the energy behind that Josh has behind these a good band like this, listening, like I think, if I may put in, I think he, even although Songs for the Deaf is their best album, I think lyrically he reached his peak on Lullabies to Paralyze.
Mm. I like lyrically, like Clockwork, has a lot of really good lyrics because it's coming from a place of, of his own experience with dealing with his depression coming off of that
Right,
surgery.
right.
There's a lot of like real emotion on there.
Hmm.
I think that's one of their best albums from like a songwriting lyrics perspective.
Right. That's another good one. You're right.
Yeah. All right, Julian, thank you so much for coming back to My Little Underground to talk about Queens of the Stone Age. Let people know where to find you. And now Biasby's on Spotify now.
Biasby is on Spotify, Apple Music, basically all streaming platforms. SoundCloud I put up before I reached Spotify and Apple Music. I didn't really say anything about it, but it was a big deal for Spotify because I finally just like sat down and just did the work and did the shit that I had to do.
You did your homework.
Yeah, man, it took me so long to like figure out where I wanted to go and what I wanted to put it through, like the distributor, but I just went with the one that I've been on the most.
All right, man, Julian, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait for the next time.